Let's take a look at how to properly format an APA paper. We're going to go through 5 different lessons covering all the pieces of an APA paper. I know this might come across as a little redundant or something that you don't need, but the fact of the matter is I spend a lot of time teaching people how to format their papers. So if we can get started off on the right foot where you've already had that information, it makes everybody's life just a little bit easier. So let's start with part 1 and talk about the title page, the page numbers, and then just some general format information. So when we look at the title page of an APA paper, it has several key pieces of information. Number 1, it has a running head, and that is up here in the top left corner. This should be the name of your paper. And note that it's in all capital letters. This running head will travel to every page hereafter. So this is in the header part of the paper. Then on the right side should be your page numbers. And we start at 1 here on the title page. Again, this is in the header. So make sure that you get these in the right spot because then it will auto carry to all of the remaining pages. When we look at the title information of the page, it's about halfway down the page. So you want it on the top half, but the lower piece of the top half of the page. And it starts with the title of the paper in bold with capitals of each word except the ones, like of. We don't capitalize of. Okay. You're going to make sure that all your writing is double spaced. We want to make sure we either use Times New Roman font or Calibri font is acceptable. Size 12, not 14, not 11. And make sure you check that because a lot of computers these days default to a size 11. Also, please make sure your font is all black. For some reason, I've been getting a lot of papers where the font is gray, and you need to make sure it's black. And then the margins on the sides of your paper, on all edges, your margins should be 1 inch. So these are things that you can kind of go ahead and go in and auto set. What I highly recommend is you go in and build yourself an APA template page or template paper with all of these pieces pre-built, and then each time you have to write a new paper, you would create another copy of it, of that file, rename it, and then fill in all of these spots, and then you'll always know that it's right. So other formatting topics to discuss, spacing between your paragraphs. So one of the things I see a lot of is extra gaps here at the top of the page, and there should be no gaps at all. The title of your paper should be center and bolded. And then the whole paper is double spaced with no extra spaces between the paragraphs. So it's really important that you make sure your spacing looks appropriate. Your headers of the sections should be here left aligned and bolded. So your title is center and bold, and then the titles of your sections are left aligned and bolded. And so this is just a really nice, clean, looking paper, and that's what we're aiming for. Then if we look at how to format your references page, it's really important that we address the fact that it's called references in APA and not works cited. Okay, again, there's no gap here at the top of the page between, where you start your references at. Your references need to be in alphabetical order by last name or whatever you are using here to organize them by, whether it's the author or an organization. They have to be alphabetical. And then note that these are also double spaced, and we have a hanging indent. Okay, if you don't know how to do a hanging indent, you would highlight the item at hand, right? The entirety of this section here, you would highlight it in your paper. You go to paragraph, and there is a button for hanging indent, and it will auto set this for you. So again, I highly recommend that you take some extra time right now and go build yourself a template for an APA paper and call it APA template, and then keep it forever. And then every time you have to write one, you just rename the file so that your template always exists. And then you can just start to fill in all the right stuff. If everything's built right, you take a lot less time writing your papers. All right, so that is the end of part 1. We'll move on to part 2 in just a moment.